My guest is Jim Sano, president of Geographic Expeditions.
Right.
Jim, your company is obviously recognized for the number of years it's been involved in adventure travel, sustainable tourism. Could you tell us a bit about your company and its history?
Well, we were founded in 1981, largely as a result of doing some of the first trips to Tibet and the western part of China. But over the years, it gradually expanded to many areas, all 7 continents actually. And in doing so, brought some of the best thinking about how to approach these trips and doing it in a responsible manner. I think we've always had this ethic of trying to give back to the wonderful communities and destinations that we visit, and it's in our best business interest to do so because we want to preserve the integrity of the places our travelers visit. Well, a large part of our how we expanded was really driven by our staff and their passion for a particular area, and also other influential people like Yvon Chouinard, who was actually responsible right on after Tiananmen Square to introduce us to a property in Patagonia that he had fallen in love with, and it was a big ranch, 60,000 acre ranch that the Argentinian equivalent of the National Park Service wanted to get out of the sheep ranching business and turn it over into a guest facility. And so we were consulted on that project to convert it into a lodge and to offer hiking and horseback riding and fishing and those kinds of activities. And that was really the beginnings of our moving out of Asia into other parts of the world. Some of the trips that we work on can be as long as 6 to 10 years in the making, in terms of sending out advanced staff and getting the necessary permits and working with local communities to have the infrastructure to accommodate travelers, because some of these places simply don't have much. So we've been asked quite a few times by USAID and the World Bank to do some consulting for communities who want to get involved in tourism and to basically educate these communities in terms of what Western travelers or international travelers would prefer in terms of creature comforts. And what we found works most often is to take very entrepreneurial individuals from those local communities and bring them to places where we feel are good models. A place like Bhutan, for example. Well, our portfolio of offerings has really changed over 25 years. We started off principally offering treks and pretty physically taxing journeys. And as the baby boomers have aged, their desire or their ability really to do this kind of trip has fallen off. And so we've had to accommodate that shift and actually offers what we call softer adventures. A lot of our trips are 2 weeks and average 2 weeks, but there are some treks, for example, in Tibet and Nepal, you need to carve out over 3 weeks because of the altitude issues. And many of the individuals in their 20s and 30s, A, they don't have that kind of time, and B, they don't have the money. Multi-generational trips and family trips in general have grown in this adventure space, especially in places like the Galapagos and Costa Rica and Africa.